Hello everyone, welcome to Rajoriya classes. Today we are going to learn first chapter from political science. Chapter is what is democracy? Why democracy? This chapter builds on a simple definition of democracy. Step by step we work out the meaning of the terms involved in this definition. The aim here is to understand clearly the bare minimum features of a democratic form of government. After going through this chapter, we should be able to distinguish a democratic form of government from a non-democratic government. Democracy is the most prevalent form of government in the world today, and it is expanding to more countries. But why it is so? What makes it better than other forms of government? That is the second big question that we take up in this chapter. So, there is first basic question, what is democracy? We know there are three main forms of government: democracy, aristocracy, and autocracy. Rule by many is called democracy, rule by a few is called aristocracy, and rule by an individual is called autocracy. To understand what is democracy, we have to first define democracy. Now there is a question, why we need define to democracy? Basically, its answer is we need to define a democracy to differentiate a democratic government from a non-democratic government. But it is not adequate. We need a definition only when we come across a difficulty in the use of a word. We need a definition of rain only when we wish to distinguish it from drizzle or cloudburst. The same is true for democracy. We need a clear definition only because people use it for different purposes. Because very different kinds of governments call themselves democracy. Time to time people express their understanding about democracy. Such understanding expressed by former American President Abraham Lincoln. In Abraham Lincoln's word, democracy is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. As we know, it is very famous, but we must not accept something just because it is famous or just because everyone accepts it. The another way of understanding the word democracy is its word origin. The word democracy comes from a Greek word demokrasia. In Greek, demos means people and krasia means rule. So democracy is ruled by the people. This way may be helpful, but this doesn't always work. A word does not remain tied to its origin. Just think of computers. Originally, they were used for computing, that is to say calculating very difficult mathematical sums. These were very powerful calculators, but nowadays very few people use computers for computing sums. They use it for writing, for designing, for listening to music, and for watching films. Words remain the same, but their meaning can change with time. In that case, it is not very useful to look at the origins of a word. So basically, to define the word democracy, we have to think about its meaning and evolve a definition. As we know, one simple factor is common to all democracies, that is, the government is chosen by the people. We could thus start with a simple definition. Democracy is a form of government in which the rulers are elected by the people. By using this definition, we can separate a democratic form of government from a non-democratic form of government. Now the question is, what kind of government are known as non-democratic? The army rulers of Myanmar were not elected by the people. Those who happened to be in control of the army became the rulers of the country. People had no say in this decision. Dictators like Pinochet in Chile are not elected by the people. This also applies to monarchies. The kings of Saudi Arabia rule not because the people have chosen them to do so, but because they happen to be born into a royal family. This simple definition is not adequate. It reminds us that democracy is people's rule. But if we use this definition in an unthinking manner, we would end up calling almost every government that holds an election a democracy. That would be very misleading. Every government in contemporary world wants to be called a democracy, even if it is not so. That is why we need to carefully distinguish between a government that is a democracy and one that pretends to be one. We can do so by understanding each word in this definition carefully and spelling out the features of a democratic government. That's all in this video. If you didn't subscribe this channel, please subscribe this channel and press bell icon to get notification of new videos. Thank you.